Chapter 41. 41 Uncle Xiao's Bad Mood. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 41 Uncle Xiao's Bad Mood. Ms. Fong was feeling a bit concerned too, but soon she remembered that it was Qiao Xian who bought them herself. Hence, she stopped herself from spilling out anything more. She was not going into the kitchen every day anyways. She made these two dishes, together with pickles with brackens as well as woke chives, and the dinner was prepared. Everyone was very active about the dinner. Xiao Taotao and Xiao Xiaoqi laid the table and put food into their bowls. In the evening, Uncle Xiao came home from the field with his two sons and accidentally ran into second uncle. They stopped for a moment and started to chat. The two brothers were just in the middle of a conversation, when second uncle asked the two sons to leave, and soon, third uncle passed by as well. Eldest Uncle Xiao had not spoken with his younger brothers for a long time, and he was very happy to hear their respectful talks. But soon, the elder uncle felt worse and worse. When he came home and saw Qiao Xian, the elder uncle felt terrible. He frowned subconsciously. He had intended to say something, but since it was time for dinner, he restrained himself and decided to wait until the food was done. As they were setting the table, the elder uncle could not help but feel like eating when he sensed the smell of meat. But when he saw the two dishes, he started to complain to his wife. "You are wasting materials. There is so much oil." Ms. Fong threw a look at him and was about to say something, when Qiao Xian added, "Dad, I made the food, it is not Mom's fault. Don't worry, I bought these with my dowry. I want to show my respect to you, just eat." The elder uncle got stuck with his words, and after a long while, he added, "Yes, it is your dowry, but don't waste money. It is not really how you run the family. This is totally splurging. Have you given some to your second uncle and third uncle?" When the words were spoken, the whole air turned cold. They were not very surprised. In the past, whenever Xiaoqi got some wild animals, the second and the third families would always get a share. So, when he got some more animals in the future, Ms. Fong would ask Xiaoqi to sell them to their neighbor, Old Master Yuan, instead of bringing them home, which was better. So he only brought home 1 or 2 wild roosters and rabbits to improve the food every now and then. Qiao Xian was startled, and then she said with a smile, "I did not buy a lot of things to be given to others, apart from you, Mom and Dad. We can talk about this next time we get the chance." Eldest uncle was about to add something more, when Ms. Fong said, "Just eat, the food is getting colder. Stop being critical when your daughter-in-law shows your respect." The third son could not stand it any more. He took one bite of the ribs and exclaimed, showering her with compliments. "The ribs taste so good. You are such a good cook." Xiao Junyan and Xiao Qing could not stand the temptation any more either. They wanted to have a taste of the food too. Ms. Fong gave food to her grandson and granddaughter, and asked everyone to enjoy themselves, whilst asking Ms. Su to take care of her 2 babies as well. They were all having a great time. Ms. Su was complaining inwardly. "The meat has so much oil and is well seasoned, of course it is tasty, eldest uncle." Well, eating was the only thing they could do at the moment. The 2 dishes with meat were not less, and Qiao Xian was not stingy with seasoning, so the bamboos and mushrooms inside tasted extra good as well. Both of the dishes were soon finished. Even the remaining broth was polished off by the third son and Xiao Xiaoqi with the rice. Ms. Fong laughed happily. It had been a long time since she felt so good. Chapter 42. 42 Daughter-in-law's Dowry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 42 Daughter-in-law's Dowry. After dinner, Ms. Su and Xiao Taotao helped to clean up the table and wash the dishes, whilst Xiaoqi and the third son went out for some fun. Ms. Fong was looking after Xiao Junyan and Xiao Qing. Eldest uncle asked Xiao Daolong and Xiao Yunduan, as well as Qiao Xian and Ms. Fong to come over. He sighed. "You had an argument with second sister-in-law and third sister-in-law. He felt really bad hearing what his brothers said to him today. He was so guilty and sad. He was not someone who wanted to get rid of his own brothers. When his daughter-in-law became so rich and ruthless, he felt so bashful and guilty upon hearing what his brothers said to him. This Ms. Chiao was so unruly. How could she not respect the elderly people and be so selfish? They were one family and they should take care of each other. Ms. Fong had predicted that her husband would ask them about this. Those brothers were definitely going to report that to their elder brother. Who said that? I had no argument with them. Eldest uncle said, of course yes. Ms. Chiao brought something home and she should have shared them with the second and the third section. We are a family and we should not just eat alone. Ms. Chiao, you should remember that though we are living in different homes, we are still one family. We are related by blood and we should help each other. We should not be so ruthless. You should get something ready and take them to the second and the third sections and apologize to them too. We should not try to argue with them. Ms. Fong got angry. What are you talking about? Dad. Xiao Xian's face turned cold, and her face sank. I am very glad to share with you what I bought with my dowry, and also with the brothers, but not with those uncles and aunts. I don't think you are right, Dad. Dad, Ms. Chiao is correct. Xiao Yunduan added. It is not good when it is spread around. Sixth brother is studying at the school, and if people hear that his parents are using their niece's dowry, he would get a very bad reputation too. Sixth brother is very talented. But for the accident, he would have made it to the imperial examination already. Many people are jealous of him. What if rumors make it worse? That won't happen. Of course it can, Dad. Sixth brother can't afford any bad rumors. Xiao Yunduan knew clearly what he needed to do to move his father. He barely spoke, but when he did, he would always hit the point. When Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were getting married, the sixth son returned home for the wedding and now he was at the school again. When Xiao Yunduan made it to cultivated talent, he had a different identity, so he did not go to school frequently as before. Instead, he would just exchange knowledge with other cultivated talents regularly every month, when they could hear the lectures from the teachers. So he was still at home, studying by himself. Eldest uncle trusted his son and said, I just mean that, we should not eat everything alone. Ms. Fong said immediately, we never eat things alone. We always share. Instead, they never give us anything. Eldest uncle became speechless. It seemed that his daughter-in-law's dowry did not belong to the shared properties. Ms. Fong was the mother-in-law who did not deal with the dowry, and he as the father-in-law should not interfere either. ENV elder uncle could not help but sneak a look at Xiao Xian, hoping that Xiao Xian could express it herself. Chapter 43 43 Xiao Yunduan's Gentleness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 43 Xiao Yunduan's Gentleness. As long as Xiao Xian expressed herself voluntarily, the matter would be settled. But Xiao Xian did nothing. Ednel.co eldest uncle felt very disappointed inside. A family should be in harmony, and we should live in peace, and not split hairs. The second and the third section are not living a good life right now, and they have nothing to offer us. They would not hold back, if they really have something to offer. My brothers keep saying that the sixth son is intelligent and he is learned. He is definitely going to have a promising future and he will help us too. Xiao Xian looked up at Xiao Yunduan subconsciously. But Xiao Yunduan did not even move his eyebrows. He seemed to sense her gaze. So he looked up at her. Both of them looked deep into each other's eyes, and Xiao Xian got slightly startled. She smiled at him and soon withdrew her look. Xiao Yunduan's heart skipped a beat. He was taken aback too, and a look of gentleness flashed across his eyes. Ms. Fong reacted vividly. She snapped. I need their help. I have my own son who is definitely better than him. My son is already a cultivated talent and he is surely going to have a more promising future than him. I don't care about their son. Elder uncle frowned. What are you talking about? Duan and sixth son are different. It is good that my brothers have such kindness. Xiao Xian could not stand it any more. She stood up and said, Dad, Mom, I am feeling tired. I will be off now. Before eldest uncle could say anything, Miss Fong pressed down her anger and said in a gentle tone, Go and take a break. Duan, keep her company. Xiao Yunduan nodded and left with Xiao Xian. That is what Dad is like. He is used to being a father for his brothers and sisters. You can simply ignore those terrible words he said to you. Don't take them to your heart. Xiao Xian threw a look at Xiao Yunduan and smiled. I won't. I only listen to Mom's words. Xiao Yunduan was amused by what she said. He nodded. Good. Xiao Xian was not aware of and did not care how the argument went between eldest uncle and Ms. Fong after they left. As long as her father-in-law did not interfere with her dowry, everything else would be easy to deal with. As for his hints as either compliments or blame, she would ignore them all. It was impossible for her to take those hints and act according to them. The following morning, Ms. Fong said to Xiao Xian in a staggering tone that they might have to share a few kilos of flour with the other sections of the family. Good girl, I know that it doesn't make you feel good, but your grandparents.in-law stressed to your father.in-law that he should take care of the other brothers and their families before they passed away. He has done more than enough and been used to showing such kindness to them. It is the other brothers' families who are not good enough for us. Your father.in-law listened to their complaints and was sighing for the whole night. Ms. Fong was very happy to stop her husband from being too devoted to the second and the third section of the family. But eldest uncle did not spend a peaceful night and she felt sorry for him in the end. Xiao Xian got what she meant. She was okay to share some flour, and she knew that her father.in-law was too old. It was not easy for him to change the habit so fast. She was already very satisfied by what they had achieved this time around. After this instance, the other sections of the family would understand that the advantages were not very easy to grab. They would know more about this gradually. Xiao Xian smiled. Mom, you are right. Let's do this. You can have the right to take the call about whatever is happening here. You don't have to tell me anything. The female lead would not be bullied, ever. Chapter 44. 44 Stupid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 44 Stupid. Ms. Fong let out a sigh of relief and smiled with happiness. But I needed to tell you first, that's all. Xiao Xian felt moved and replied with a smile. What about Mom asking Dad to deliver the flour to them? You can explain to them that I bought the rice because we are running out of food. I just don't want the family to do the farm work while being hungry. From this moment on, you can ask the sister.in-law to make as much food as possible, without caring about the oil and salt. I have told my husband about buying some land for business. We are definitely going to get better and better. We don't have to be too stingy about this. When the land was opened, Xiao Xian had to share the story little by little, since they would not be able to hide the secret for much longer. Ms. Fong understood what she meant. She nodded in realization and said with a smile, No wonder you bought the land. You are going to use them. Her son was the cultivated talent, intelligent and reliable. If the purchase was a bad deal, he would have stopped his wife. Xiao Xian smiled. You are so clever, Mom. Ms. Fong laughed. Just do whatever you want. I know what to do. Excellent, Mom. Xiao Xian replied with a smile. Soon Ms. Fong got 4 kgs of flour and put it in 2 bags separately. She delivered them to the second and the third section of the family along with eldest uncle. Eldest uncle also believed that he should visit his brothers personally. So he tagged along. The flour which Qiao Xian had bought was the best sort of flour, most suitable for pancakes and noodles. 4 kgs was already a lot for them. That was why elder uncle was very happy, and he felt so relieved after one sleepless night. He felt that his youngest daughter-in-law was not all that hopeless. It was just that she lacked manners and was too young to understand things around her. He believed that she could be cultivated in the future. Brothers, we are here giving you some flour. Eldest uncle was very happy, as he walked in with a smile. However, what he had not expected was that his brother and his wife were not very happy about it. Ms. Nyo took over the bag and snapped. So little. Fifth daughter-in-law bought a big wagon of things yesterday. Second uncle also snorted. It seems that niece-in-law looks down at us. You are not treating us like a family. Ms. Fang suddenly realized why Qiao Xian had asked her husband to come along. Yes, she had been so stupid as not to think of this idea any sooner. It had either been the brothers who came to fetch the things, or she, Ms. Su or Tao Tao went over to deliver the stuff. Her husband had never shown up before this. Ms. Fang stayed silent. She was going to see what her husband was going to say. Eldest uncle's smile disappeared instantly. His body stiffened up. He had not seen the scene where his brother and the wife would express their gratitude towards him. We don't have much food at home. Ms. Chiao bought rice. Those small things which she bought were for herself and Duan. Honestly, brother, we are not living separately. Ms. Chiao's things are ours too. She is so selfish. You are making excuses, you just don't want to give us any. We don't have any rice either. Brother, share some with us. You can't just watch our children suffer from hunger, right? Elder uncle gasped. He was stuck with words. The words that his daughter-in-law's dowry had been coveted by the uncles and aunts were emerging inside his head. If those things were for sharing, he would definitely share them with the brothers. But those were not part of the public resources. Chapter 45. 45 Heart Poking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 45 Heart Poking. Second uncle and Ms. Nyo kept complaining, making eldest uncle flush over in embarrassment. He could not possibly use his daughter-in-law's dowry to support his brothers. Ms. Fang sneered and said, "Are you done? Then give it back to me if you find it so little. You are forcing your brother to use his daughter-in-law's dowry to support you. Do you have any conscience or not?" Second uncle was startled. Ms. Nyo pursed her lips. "I think the dowry is just an excuse." Ms. Fang got annoyed. "Ms. Nyo, do you want me to make a list of what you have forced me to pay all this while? Do we have any savings? We have used all the savings to support you. As a result, we aren't able to afford anything. You are a healthy family and you have fields too. Still, you want my daughter-in-law to support you. Shame on you." Whenever they brought something home, the second and the third section would want to have a portion of that. The second and third section of the family knew pretty well how the first section of the family was doing. Ms. Fang pulled away eldest uncle. "What are you doing here? How dare you try to calculate my daughter-in-law's dowry? I will keep my eyes on that." Eldest uncle was pulled away by Ms. Fang. Ms. Nyo and second uncle exchanged a look between themselves and did not dare to run after them. Eldest uncle sighed and felt confused. Obviously, he had been poked in the heart by his brother and sister-in-law. That was 4 kgs of excellent flour. And they were complaining about the amount and forcing him to lecture his daughter-in-law. Ms. Fang felt quite happy about this, but she was annoyed too. So she tried to restrain herself. She pretended not to have seen anything, but asked eldest uncle to come along to visit the third section of the family. Eldest uncle started to panic. He did not want to join her anymore. He felt very messy in his heart and could not stand the stimulation. What if his third brother and wife were like this too? He would definitely collapse. But Ms. Fong did not want him to retreat at this moment. She forced him to come along, after all. Eldest uncle had to follow up. Sure enough, his third brother and wife did the same thing. They were not as sharp-tongued as the second brother and his wife, yet they were basically expressing the same thing. They thought that they had got too little flour. Moreover, Ms. Ma asked him to get Ms. Chiao to apologize to her. Eldest uncle felt so heart-broken. He said nothing. He did not even know how he made out of the third section. Everyone found that their father was not in the right mood at breakfast. They exchanged a look between themselves and did not dare to say a thing. Ms. Fong threw a hint at everyone, so they felt assured. After breakfast, eldest uncle took his two sons to the field for farm work, and Ms. Fong and Tao Tao were taking care of the infants and making lunch at home. Ms. Su, on the other hand, was plowing the field. Xiao Xiaoqi decided to have a tour around Wangqing Mountains. Otherwise he would have joined his father and brothers too. Xiao Yunduan was different. He was devoted to work and sometimes helped with the farm work in the field, when the season was busy. Xiao Xian and Xiao Taotao wanted to join Xiao Xiaoqi for the tour, so did Xiao Yunduan. Ms. Fong was aware that her sons knew what they should and shouldn't do, so she asked them to take good care of Xiao Xian and said nothing more. Wangqing Mountains was a bit far away from Xiaoding village, and it took them 3 hours to arrive there. It was a beautiful place with ancient woods growing into the mountains. The temperature was 2 or 3 degrees lower than that in the village, and it was an enormous mountain. It was a good place to set up traps for large beasts, not for small animals like roosters or rabbits, because there were many beasts living in the mountains, and the small ones were eaten up by those big ones. Chapter 46. 46 Updated Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 46 Updated Space. Xiao Xiaoqi was carrying a bow made out of bamboo. Xiao Xian cast her superpower and her sight spread all over as much as 2 kms. It was much bigger than that in the past. Xiao Xian felt absolutely delighted inside her heart. That it was a smooth day of hunting, since Xiao Xian chose the right direction and led the way. Soon, Xiao Xiaoqi noticed the prey hidden in the flourishing grass. The moment he aimed at the prey, he showed a cold look that startled Xiao Xian. He was still young and had not yet grown up. But he would turn even more lethal, as he grew older. Xiao Xian thought of how he learned the hunting skills from a deceased hunter. She could not help but guess that the hunter must have been more than just ordinary. Otherwise, he would not have cultivated a disciple like this. Xiao Xiaoqi was very fast in getting the prey. Soon he got 5 wild roosters and 3 rabbits. Actually, Xiao Xian had noticed wild boars and goats as well, but wild boars were too dangerous and wild goats were too fast. Neither were good options for hunting. Therefore, she led them away. When it was time for lunch, they already had 13 wild roosters and 6 wild rabbits. Xiao Xiaoqi was extremely happy. I am so lucky to be hunting with you. I had never been so lucky. Everyone was very pleased to get so many wild animals for food. With her superpower, Xiao Xian soon found a wild grassland close to the spring. She and Xiao Taotao killed a really big wild rabbit, and Xiao Yunduan as well as Xiao Xiaoqi fetched some wood. In this way, they roasted the wild rabbit for lunch. Xiao Xiaoqi got some wild berries and wrapped them up with large leaves for Xiao Xian to eat. There were not many wild fruits except for the berries in the mountains during spring. They were growing wildly and the red fruits were as large as a finger, growing all over the trees. They stood out in the bushes, beautiful and tasty. After lunch, Xiao Xiaoqi suggested, "Let's get some mushrooms before going back. It is getting late now." It was more dangerous after lunchtime, and he would not go around randomly when his brother and sister Law as well as Tao Tao were with him. Also, they already got plenty of things. They nodded in agreement. Xiao Xian was very satisfied by what she had gained from this trip. There were many wild growing fruit trees, and when she built the fruit yard, she was going to ask him to bring her here and take some home. Then she was going to transplant those fruits with better twigs. Some could be planted directly, such as wild lemons, mulberries, bayberries, etc. She even found a patch of wild-growing watermelons, which were just budding, and which could be transplanted back to their place later. She did not have to worry about killing the bud. They were just picking some mushrooms, when Xiao Xian had an idea. She told the rest of the team and headed towards a direction alone. She found 2 Ganodermas. The 2 Ganodermas were growing together, different in height but large in size, almost as big as one basin. The black surface was sparkling with purple light, and the stem looked straight and sturdy. Delighted, Xiao Xian bent down. But she was startled the moment she touched them. Suddenly, she had nothing in her hands, but 2 Ganodermas went straight in her space and started to grow. These 2 Ganodermas seemed to get rooted in her space as if they had sensed something. In an instant, Xiao Xian could clearly feel that the originally desolate, lifeless space had a little more life, and a small clear spring appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye, next to the 2 Ganodermas. The spring was spurting and soon a pool was formed. Chapter 47. 47 Superpower Expanded. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. 47 Superpower Expanded. That trash space was finally going into function mode. The development pleased Xiao Xian greatly. In the meanwhile, she found her superpower becoming stronger as well. She was not only able to explore a wider range across plants but also had no difficulty in extracting oil as well as accelerating the growth of plants. What was more, she could use her superpower at her will. Previously, it was impossible for her to achieve fine control, but at this moment it seemed to be possible. For example, if she wanted a leaf to grow by one branch, then this leaf and one branch would do as she ordered, and if she wanted a fruit to grow quickly and ripen, then this one fruit would ripen quickly without affecting others. It was a discovery that surprised Xiao Xian. Pleased, Xiao Xian decided to take a walk in the mountains when she had nothing else to do. She decided to find better things to feed her space, and when she became rich, she was going to buy excellent ginseng so that she could get unexpected surprises. Xiao Xian returned quickly, so the other 2 people did not witness anything. Only Xiao Yunduan could tell that Xiao Xian seemed to be quite happy. He threw a confused look at her but noticed nothing different. He even assumed that it was because he had felt wrongly. L.RG. They had got abundant mushrooms and were about to return, when Xiao Xiaoqi's eyes brightened. It is a barking deer. Without informing others, he ran up with his bow. Before Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan realized what was happening, Xiao Xiaoqi was already cheering. I got it, I got one barking deer. Wow, brother, you are excellent. Xiao Taotao dashed forward in cheers. Xiao Xian smiled. I agree. The arrow ran through the barking deer, which fell onto the ground. It looked strong and chubby, weighing approximately 2.5 kilograms to 4 kilograms. After they cheered for a while, Xiao Xiaoqi could not help but say. 5th brother and 5th sister. In law, let's bring this barking deer to old Master Yuan's family and ask for a price. He kept asking me if we got anything other than wild roosters and rabbits. I bet that he will buy it. Then we can share the earnings. They believed that such a big barking deer would definitely be shared with the other sections of the family, when brought back. However, he had not yet hunted one barking deer for long and he would like to have a taste too. Xiao Xian smiled. That works. But you should share the money with Tao Tao, and we don't need it, right? Xiao Yunduan nodded. Yes. But, we have wild roosters and rabbits too, right? They are good to eat as well. You should keep the money. They insisted upon not taking the money, and Xiao Xiaoqi showed an embarrassed smile and dropped the request. Xiao Xian and Tao Tao were waiting for Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xiaoqi in a forest outside the village, when they went to sell the barking deer to the Yuan village. They even had 2 wild roosters and 2 wild rabbits with them. The barking deer was sold at only 21, yet Xiao Xian bought the meat at 15.5 a kilo the other day. Barking deer was fresh and rare, and it should not have been sold at such a low price. But there were no rules in the village. Old Master Yuan must have bargained hard. But Xiao Xiaoqi had no choice but to sell that to him, otherwise the other sections of the family would want to share it when brought back. But Xiao Xiaoqi was already very glad to have made a small fortune, since the cost wasn't that high. Unfortunately, Old Master Yuan did not buy wild roosters or rabbits, which would go bad soon when it got too warm. A barking deer was already enough for him. Chapter 48. 48 Back home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 48 Back home. Ms. Fong took 41 out of the 81, and the rest would be shared between Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao. Taotao accepted the share too. She said happily, "Brother, I can keep your share for you, and you can ask me for money when you need it." They all laughed. Xiao Taotao pursed her lips and said, "We have had such a big harvest today. Dad is definitely going to ask us to share it with second uncle and third uncle again." Sigh. Eldest uncle was nice in everything except for the fact that he kept thinking that he should take care of the other sections of the family. After so many years, the whole family already gave up trying to persuade him. The reason that half of the money earned by each person in the first section of the family should belong to the individual's personal property and only needed to be handed over to the whole family, was because it was a rule set by Ms. Fong decisively. In this way, some money could still be kept in the family. Eldest uncle, who was a father, would naturally not ignore his children, and Ms. Fong, who was a mother, was considerate of her children, so eldest uncle would not object to this practice. But second uncle and third uncle once said that it was a rule that would spoil the children, and that the money would ruin children's future. But Ms. Fong insisted upon that, and the discussion was dropped. But when Xiao Xian came to the family, she had attacked the second and third sections so that she became such an inspiration for Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao. Actually, Xiao Xian was a trigger to the already existent grudge. They had not been pleased by the actions of the second and the third sections' behaviors for a long time. Xiao Xian smiled. "That works. You don't have to share everything that you have earned." Xiao Taotao could not help but say. "Fifth sister. Law, they would come to flip through our stuff." Xiao Xian's face sank. "We won't allow this to happen again." Xiao Xiaoqi's eyes brightened as he nodded. Fifth sister. Law is right. They told the others that they only got 2 wild roosters and 1 rabbit. Then, they hid everything else when they returned home. There was almost no secret in the family that could be kept from others. Xiao Xiaoqi had a hobby of hunting wild animals, which was known to everyone. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma had always benefited from this hobby of his, so they kept prying about where Xiao Xiaoqi went, every day. As long as Xiao Xiaoqi went into the mountain, they would surely come to visit their place. Today was no exception. 2 wild roosters and 1 rabbit. They were definitely going to take them. "Chi, you have hunted a lot today. Look at the fat wild rooster. The wild rabbit looks good too." Xiao Xian's lips pursed. She was not going to allow those greedy people to get even one thing out of the family. But that was not how the first section of the Xiao family worked. They had to take it slow. Xiao Xian grabbed the largest wild rooster and said, "Chi, you have done a great job today, we will keep this wild rooster. Second Law and third Law, you can share the wild rooster and the rabbit." Xiao Yunduan smiled. This wife of his was so evil. Xiao Xiaoqi was the one who hunted the animal, so it was totally reasonable that they kept the largest wild rooster. After all, they were giving away the wild rabbit that was larger and had much more meat, weren't they? Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were startled. They could not help but reach out for the rabbit at the same time. "What are you doing? This is mine." Chapter 49. 49 Argument. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 49 Argument. Second sister. In law, sixth son needs to have some supplementary food. Hence, the rabbit should be mine. Sixth son is at the school, not at home. You can't bring him out for everything. How dare you try to snatch the rabbit from me? So what? I can deliver it to him tomorrow. It is important that the sixth son studies well. You should leave the rabbit for me. Ms. Fong showed a mocking smile and looked at her daughter. In law with a satisfied smirk on her face. She left from there with her grandchildren. Xiao Yunduan went to study whilst Xiao Xian and Qi left as well. The two women should be left alone to sort the argument between themselves. Later, Tao Tao came to gossip with Xiao Xian, telling her that third aunt. In law won and took the rabbit away whilst second aunt. In law wanted to exchange the remaining with the rooster, but got turned down by their mother. Xiao Xian laughed. She had thought that it would be Ms. Niu who would win, but it turned out that Ms. Ma tasted victory instead. They had many wild roosters and rabbits left for dinner, and the remaining ones were hidden in the yard. They were kept in the leaves and maintained in the dungeon, so that the meat could be kept for many days. Wild roosters were never as chubby as home-kept roosters, but they were already quite big. Xiao Xian cooked dinner and made braised chicken soup with mushrooms, which tasted really fresh and delicious. The other one was stirred and fried over a lot of oil, whilst the green garlic sprouts were cut into sections. The wild celery pulled from the mountains was chopped into pieces, and some dried chili peppers were added. Soy sauce, salt and ginger pieces were put in as well. The taste was strong and fragrant. People just could not stop eating. Then, she cut fresh bamboo shoots into thin slices, and made a light, fresh bamboo shoot soup. She even stirred and fried a vinegary and slightly spicy cabbage. The smell went over the room and made people drool. Ms. Su helped her, and was stumped seeing how the seasoning was made. Anyway, it was her dowry that paid for it all, and she could do whatever she wanted. Those were not from the family share, hence she did not care. But Ms. Su could not stop eating at dinner. Xiao Sanlang was the happiest. He got so delighted that he spoke highly of his sister. In law, which made Xiao Yunduan remind him that he should eat more and speak less. Xiao Sanlang nodded. Yes, I need to hurry up before you eat it all. Xiao Yunduan. When eldest uncle heard that the second and the third sections of the family were given some rabbit and rooster, he got very gratified inside his heart as well. They were a family and they should get on well with each other. It was a great, happy dinner. The following day, Xiao Xian started to work. She had already gotten the contract from Land Officer Ding the day before, and after dinner, she narrated what she was planning to do. She was using her own dowry in Ms. Fong, as well as Xiao Yunduan supported her. Hence, eldest uncle said nothing even though he did not quite agree. Well, Xiao Xian was not using the family money. She needed some labor if she wanted to open a land. So after breakfast, eldest uncle went to the family land whilst Xiao Dalong, Xiao Sanlang and Ms. Su as well as Xiao Xiaoqi, Xiao Tao Tao went to help Xiao Xian. Xiao Yunduan was studying in the room. Xiao Xian felt that she still needed more people, so she asked Xiao Dalong to get 3 men who were reliable to come and help. Just tell them to tell others that they are simply helping us. We will offer lunch and 21 for each of them. Don't let them spill the truth. Chapter 50. 50 Ashamed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 50 Ashamed. Since you all are working here, you will get 21 too. Brothers, you work so hard, I will pay you 10 more, but please work carefully. Don't tell others. Weeds, tree roots, larger stones, and other scattered rubbish on this piece of land needed to be cleaned up. Once a fence was built, trees could be planted and mushrooms could be grown. Everyone was startled when they heard what Xiao Xian said. Ms. Su smiled. Fifth sister. In law, this seems very nice, but do I get paid too? Ms. Su. Xiao Dalong glanced at his wife and said, fifth sister. In law, we are one family and we don't need to pay each other. Yes. Xiao Sanlang smiled as well. You have bought us so much food and it is enough for us to get fully fed every time. You can cook for us more instead. Everyone laughed and agreed. Ms. Su felt ashamed. Was she being very greedy? They were humiliating her. Xiao Xian chuckled and said, those are two different things. This is my private work which will last for a long time. I can't let you work for free. We should count the bill even if we are a family. Me and my husband don't do housework. It is you all who have taken over it, right? Xiao Sanlang was very open-minded, and he could either be paid or remain unpaid. Xiao Dalong was very honest and bad at talking, so he nodded and insisted that he should just take 21, no more. Xiao Xian thought for a while and nodded with a smile. Seeing that they got 10 less, Miss Su felt her heart ache. She threw a dark look at Xiao Dalong, thinking that he was so dull. But she did not dare to say anything more. Xiao Xian explained the whole thing to them and asked them not to reveal the truth to anyone else. She was worried that the second and the third sections of the family would get someone here to work and get money from them and add nuisance. Xiao Dalong realized what was going on. He nodded and said that he was not going to tell anyone else about it. So did everyone else present. That was indeed how those people would behave. Xiao Xian returned when she was done with her work. She helped Ms. Fong to look after the children whilst Ms. Fong was busy with some housework. She was not very familiar with the house, and Ms. Fong was very good at doing the work, so Ms. Fong did not let Xiao Xian do the housework either, which made her life leisurely. Xiao Xian told Ms. Fong about the payment. Ms. Fong first told her not to do that, but after hearing her point of view, she nodded and said, "You are right. This is good, they won't complain in the future. But don't let your father learn about it." That was exactly what Xiao Xian was waiting for. She nodded and smiled. "Mom, we are all a good family and Noon will complain. I just think that we can't let them work for free. After all, it is my private work." Ms. Fong smiled. "You are such a nice girl who takes everything into consideration."